Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2024 Infinite Disc Beehive Classic Disc Golf Pro Tour Q-Series event. We're at the Fort. We've got a great feature card for you, including Matt Bell, along with Connor Rock, Jake Brown, and rounding out our card, Infinite sponsored Anthony Bodanza. I've got all of the action for round number one for you. And you guys know it and love it. One of the most famous courses of all time, hosting the greatest shot in disc golf history of all time. Yes, the holy shot. We're getting right to it. Hole number one, Matt Bell. Going up that right side, you see the basket off in a distance. 464 feet. And really, it's all about navigating. Obviously, you want the good, clean tee shot, but then navigating to get all the way through for your second shot, steering clear of that middle tree. Jake has no problem. Caught up short and left of the others. We'll see what kind of scramble work we're going to need to see out of Anthony. First, it's going to be Bell. Connor's tall frame should certainly be of use here. Even with stretch out to his right, we're going to see him with a forehand. And really a career moment for Connor just a month ago in taking down the Las Vegas Challenge, winning his biggest paycheck of his career at $4,000, 4-day A-tier. And Jake having no problem with the forehand there. Jake comes into the event with a 1,009 rating. Anthony, the newest of all the players, although Jake only became a member of the PDGA in 2020, Anthony, not much after that, but PDGA numbers in the 200,000. He comes into the event with a 989 rating. Right side chain doesn't get it to drop. The scrambling works out for Connor. He's going to walk away with a par. Obviously, a different look here to hole number one compared to what you guys saw back at the 2021 Worlds. Just a couple of minor course changes that I think you'll point out or recognize. Matt Bell, the veteran on the card. PDGA 48950, member since 2011. And the river is flowing. I think that's an understatement. If I recall, a ton of rain had just recently come through here. And a little backstop action, not a problem. A little forehand skip, also getting the backstop. Connor makes light work of it. We expect to see a few more birdies here. Warm and not much breeze, as you can tell by the trees and bushes behind. Not a ton of movement here today. Event kicking off on a Thursday afternoon. Actually, it's early evening time. One of the latest tee times I've ever seen. Of course, June helps make that happen. Late June, mid-June helps make that happen. I believe it's about 5:15 in the afternoon / early evening. Dinner time. Who's ready to eat? Matt Bell. Downhill, 517 foot, par 3, and attackable. As you see, Bell, no problems getting in bounds. You have a birdie look. Much higher, and will come in left of the pin. I'm just going to say, this feels like a bonus birdie. We'll see if the stats back that up. I'm going to take a look, thanks to our friends over at the PDGA Scoring. And yeah, this is the third least birdied hole. Or actually, I should rephrase that. This is the third most difficult hole. I don't know about just birdies, but the third most difficult. This averages 0.51 over par. So oh no, that's trouble. From the drop zone, Jake. Big trouble. And Connor is obstructed, but at least he has a hyzer look to it. We can give this a chance. Yes, the birdie by Anthony. This being the last group of the day, we saw just 4 total birdies on this hole. That's 25% of them right there. Jake's going to go over par with the double bogey. And Matt, even closer than I realized. And another birdie. So 4 on the day, 2 of them here on our feature card. Talk about showing up. Connor settles for the par. We head to hole number 4. 690 feet. Playing a full stroke over par. No tree hit is a good thing, as that one laces all the way down the fairway. We talked about hole 3 being the third most difficult, averaging basically a half stroke over par. This is even double the difficulty of that, 1.04 over par, and Jake is going to be in some trouble here early. By far the single most difficult hole on the course. Jake's is clean for the second shot, and you see him just arriving where other drives had landed. That tells you how far back he was. Just always that constant notion of like, oh yeah, I hit a tree. Of course I hit a tree. Somewhere I hit a tree. So difficult not to here on the fourth. You see the way throughout this fairway where they were trying to divert water. And a great shot there by Jake. Looks like our ditch might come into play, at least for a moment, on the footing here for Connor. A patent pending stance for Bell. And look how close the river is, just off the side of the basket here. As if this hole wasn't difficult enough, we're going to expand where the river comes into play. So Bodanza just past the pin. Oh, wow, I didn't know Bell had a little lefty action in him, even from 8 feet. I know I wouldn't trust myself from that distance. Man, pars feel like birdies here, and I say that because, like I said, it was 1 stroke over par is how it played on the day, and there were 0 birdies out of the entire field. 0 birdies. That tells you something, especially when you're looking at a field that is 81 competitors deep. But what's crazy is after you come off 2 of the 3 most difficult holes in 3 and 4, you then go to the 2 easiest holes on the course, 5 and 6. Well, easy statistically, that is. I think we know what's going to happen there. Nice shot. That filters through for Jake. He's going to be right next to the pin. Obviously, forehand is the route of choice here. And that doesn't get all the way through. So Bell's going to be short. He's going to have a long look. Big shout out. The one ace on this day was Dylan Lloyd. So congrats to Dylan. Yeah, it was short and not a good bid, but at the same time, knowing that water's behind there, you have to at least have that in the back of your mind, thinking you don't want to roll or catch a basket or somehow get over those logs, bring it into play. And Jake misses from short range. Connor's in for the par. Bell is in for the par. So although I just said this is the easiest hole statistically, Anthony, the only one able to take advantage of it. We head to 6 at just 323 feet. Again, a few changes on the course had to be made with all the rain and everything else that came through, so that's why you're seeing a couple of different teeing areas, tee pads and such that got used. Bell goes deep. Good mix, forehand and backhand approaches here, coming off the tees. Connor, well, I was going to say it felt like the cleanest shot of them all. However, he really just hit late. And so it looks like he's going to be closest to the pin. Solid approach. Little forehand action coming from Anthony. Jake appears to have a window. Stepper by Connor grabs left side chain. Doesn't really grab much, I should say. More like tickles. So hole 6's basket, safe from any long-range throw-ins here from any of the card. And not seeing it really materialize as the second easiest. Well, it didn't have the most amount of birdies in terms of the hole, but it did have very few and limited amount of bogeys. So we're not seeing any birdies from our final feature card. And just looking ahead, hole 7 at 300 feet, the next one comes in as the 5th easiest. So you're talking about 5, 6, and 7, 3 out of the easiest 5, all in this little stretch here. Big thanks to our friends over at Visit Ogden. Talk about being as if they needed to be put on the map. Clearly they didn't, but knowing that the holy shot took place here, knowing that we had the worlds that we did in 2021, I don't think you're a real disc golf fan if you're not already in tune with what's this course is all about. And Bell, deep, and OB. Jake kind of gave me the impression he pulled that wider than he wanted to, but it looks like it's going to pay off. It's really all about, can you get past those trees right there, those down logs, or are those going to be in your stance or possibly in your follow-through when you're trying to putt? And that's exactly what I'm talking about. Not so much a follow-through issue, but more of the stance, and if it impedes that, not a problem for Jake, though. Bouncing back with a great birdie. Almost the same distance here for Connor. Birdie brings Connor to 1 under. Matt's going to ultimately tap out. The par save by Bell coming from after going out of bounds. Pretty impressive as we head over to the 8th. 320 feet. This is really the tightest gap, I feel like, off the tee out of any hole on this course. Very intimidating. And as you can hear, not exactly easy to keep it clean throughout. This hole averaged almost exactly par on the first round, 3.1, so just a tenth of a stroke over par. Connor's hoping he's got a par secured with that. Bell's going to get creative. And he's still going to have work to do. He's going to need to dig into the bag for one of the long-range putts that he's so well known for. Okay. You could just do that. And as Jake sets up, it's pretty cool to hear that Tech Disc has partnered up with the tournament. They've basically built a launch monitor that attaches to the disc that gives you your spin rate, your nose angle, your speed, and a whole bunch of crazy stats and info. And it does it all within the first 3 feet or so of the throw. So even if you're throwing into a net, like offered by our fellow partner in Visionary, pretty cool stuff to check out. Head on over to techdisc.com. Tell them the Disc Golf Guy sent you. Big shout out to them for supporting the tournament and partnering up. A little par action coming out of both Connor and Anthony. And the same coming from Jake. 4 pars on the card. Well, the whole, like I said, average pretty much that on the day. We head to the 9th. A par 5, just shy of 900 feet. A dog leg, as you can see on the tee sign there. It goes straight down, just as you're seeing here by Connor. And then you're hoping to get around that corner. You see the Mando sign. You have to go to the right of that tree. What Connor wouldn't give for 10 more feet. See if Anthony can get through. He comes up short. So he's going to still be trying to get around the corner. And par just got that much tougher for Matt. This playing the second most difficult hole. 5.53, so a half a stroke over par. And Matt's still not around the corner in 2. That's trouble. You don't want to be tight up against that fence, just as we're seeing, because then you're still trying to get around the corner. Oh no, what did Anthony just do? He missed the Mando. That means he has to go to a drop zone. And we see the flop out into the fairway there. Again, Connor would have loved to be 10 feet to his right, just to have so many more options. He's going with the forehand that is going to hyzer out to the right-hand side. We'll see if he's got something from the backside alleyway. Same thing, what Jake wouldn't give for another 10 feet to his right. But a good forehand, that puts him in position to at least consider saving the par. He throws a really good 4th shot. He could walk away still with the 5. Anthony going to the drop zone. Keeps it clean. That's going to give him a long look. Bell throwing his 4th. Oh, he's getting squirrely. The roller. And tough to pick up where that even actually finished. Not expecting to come in on that angle. You got to get over that mound, and Jake, oh no. Just getting past it gives you a clean look at the basket. Obviously, it's not in your way either, and give you some kind of weird angle in terms of what you have to putt with. So big mistake there by Jake. Matt trying to limit the damage. That was his 5th, so he's left with that for bogey. Restricted airspace. Well, Jake able to use the height so he could at least see the pin. What a good bid, but man, you got to make that correction. Make sure you get past that mound. And Connor's putter doesn't do any work for him there. The 3 most difficult holes on the course are behind us. Holes 3, 9, and 4. And we're through the front 9. You're seeing here on our feature card, 1 under through the front 9 are the hottest scores. And with that, we're going to take a quick look at the scores through 9 holes. Jaden Rye, your leader, through 9. Plenty of people at 3 under. Nobody really running around with anything crazy. Connor Rock on our feature card at the 1 under. Let's head to the back. I've got all 18 holes for you in this one video. With Connor and Matt sitting 1 down. Certainly one of the most memorable holes from this course, and there's obviously tons of great holes, but knowing you have that Mando that you must go through, you see the arrows there, essentially an archway, we'll call it. I'm sure you guys have fancier terms that would be more appropriate, but we'll call it an archway. Just looking for placement to set yourself up. That's going to be another good shot coming in there from Jake. OB on the far right side, but also you don't want to come up short and pinch yourself too far off to the left side, because that's going to give you a terrible angle to get into the archway. And Bell with what appears to be the longest drive. We'll see what he can do with that positioning. Well, didn't quite go through yet, but he also didn't miss it. Oh, and just barely under the top side, we see Jake get all the way through, so he's got a really short birdie look. I mean, when you throw a good drive, some of this feels routine, and that's quite the missed opportunity for Bell. I mean, he had the longest drive. He wasn't really in a terrible angle at it. And so that's a huge missed opportunity. He'll still have a long putt, which we know are his specialty, but you feel like that one should be next to the pin. Easy work for Connor. And he may or may not outwardly say it, but yeah, that's one you're a little frustrated with after that drive. Short range for Jake. He's back to even par through 10. Big shout out to our friends over at Infinite Disc. Clearly your title sponsor and presenting sponsor here at the tournament. I want to thank Sean and everyone else who had reached out or had the faith and the trust that we could get a crew over there as we see a park job. Not a problem for Connor. See if the high route continues to work, and the answer is yes. Jake also with a look inside the circle. This one's really difficult in the sense that a few feet out of position, left or right or whatever the case might be, obviously he's going to bring some of these trees into play. And you can see there's places you just don't want to be. And it might only be 5 feet from something that's near perfect. And that filters or kicks back over. So Anthony still has a look. $11 playing on the slightly easier half in terms of the holes. Average just barely under par at 2.96. And clearly a window was found there by Bell. Great birdie. Light work of it, made by Jake. So not too bad. These guys played it better than the average for the rest of the field. Saw 3 birdies and a single par. That's hole 11. They'll move on to hole number 12. This one's almost right in the middle in terms of overall difficulty, or how it averaged out on day 1. Somewhat short par 4 at 514 feet. I don't know if you can throw it much better than that. That seems to be exactly where you want to be. Oh, and a terrible kick, not making it through the tunnel. And we'll see if he's punished just as much. And I guess here's your answer. So for what looked like a terrible kick, you can only make so much forward progress, but not nearly as bad as what we're seeing here from Bell. He's finding the over top. All right, all right. Oh, and he beats or skips off of one of the Guardian logs. Very favorable that it kept moving forward in that sense. Then, how does that seem? We see one off the log, and then that looked like it hit a tree. Obviously, he had that one lined up and hit it pretty squarely, but certainly not the result he was hoping for. However, Jake putting things together over the last few holes. That's another birdie coming up. Matt trying to manufacture something. Interesting just to see, because of the obstacles on this course, the different putting stances any one player may take over time, and that checks up just barely short of the water. And what I mean by that is seeing Matt, you know, with his typical stance, and then something a little off center of that, and then yet a different stance on another putt. Like, just having so many different obstacles to deal with. And he had to work hard for it, but that's going to be a bogey for Bell. Connor remain at 3 under. And Anthony also will walk away with the par. Jake, however, putting things together. That's at least 3 in a row. Is that 4 in a row for him?
Well, I just did, so now they have...
It's at least 3. I don't know. Somebody do the math. I ain't that smart. Jake coming off a great run of 3 birdies in a row. Oh, it hits the chains. Oh, no, but it falls into the river. He's out of bounds. Doesn't seem right. Oh, no. You have the chance to save the par from very short range, but it's easy to be obstructed on that side as we watch Connor come up short. Anthony, high, stalling shot. That gets caught up in this short. This is the second shortest hole on the course. But a difficult one to access. And it looks like you actually go to a drop zone. And brutal. Brutal. after hitting chains, which makes sense because it's really difficult to tell exactly where you may have gone out of bounds, and therefore it becomes, a really difficult call for the group way back at the blind tee. But brutal to see him ultimately walk away with a bogey after hitting the chains. Dangerous putt for Connor, knowing the water's less than 15 feet behind the pin. Well, that's a product of being a little bit tentative and knowing that there's water and OB right behind the basket. Couple of very, very unenthusiastic pars, understandably. And Jake ultimately punished with the bogey. That's just brutal. We've got all sorts of fun stuff. You come over to Samui and play. I invite you all to come to Thailand, playing the Samui Swine. That'll take place usually right around the end of January, early part of February each year. Already on the schedule for 2025. So make your plans now as we're watching Connor on the 700-foot par 4. All about setting yourself up. And great moves there by John to get out of the way, but setting yourself up for the second shot here. Dare I say the easy part is the first half of this hole, front half. Love the low line drive. You get plenty of skip. The question is, how obstructed is he over on that side? Kind of choose your own adventure from over here. Solid wood hit there for Bell. Maybe this is or isn't your first time seeing coverage of the fort since 2021 Worlds. Obviously, other events have taken place, but what do you remember besides the obvious? Hole 18, Conrad, so on and so forth. But what do you remember otherwise about this course? How much of this is sparking up some of the feels or the vibes or the nostalgia, the pain, the anguish, the celebration, whatever it is? What are you recalling about this course now that we're 14 holes in? That's what I'd love for you to put in the comments. We're going to have a giveaway with every single round that's released. Long range look for Bell. Just inches short. Similar distance for Connor. Solid. Can't really argue with that. Well, 14 average 4.35. We've got a couple of birdies on the card so far. For a hole that averaged more than a third of a stroke over par, we've got 2 birdies and 2 pars, assuming Matt connects, not a problem. I'd like to think our feature card handled it pretty well. We head over to the 15th. .313 feet. slightly elevated basket. 15 plays as the 4th easiest hole. As you can see, just a pretty straight shot required. Coming in low, getting a skip to the pin seems to be the plan if you can, but you do have to beat that final log that prevents some of the skipping. So you need to get over that, but then let the disc slow down or put the brakes on. Or a little tree love, that'll work for Bell. Like a number of holes out here, the greens are mildly protected, slightly protected, just meaning you've got room to work with, but you get out to that 25, 30 feet range, and you might be bringing a few small trees into play. You might be bringing a low ceiling or some branches into play. It certainly takes place here. I think back to holes like, well, I was going to say 6 or 7, but just so many of the holes out on this course. Birdies are looking good. 21 out of the 81 participants birdied 15. Just 3 to play. Deep. Good line. Needed about 10% less power. Less power coming out of Bell. Oh, that doesn't seem... Oh, no. By just a couple of feet. So he's dry, but out of bounds. Connor, stick it. No, he comes up short. So 3 OBs. Jake, does he have the touch? Puts it on and gets it to stick. We see all our competitors finding themselves under par as they're moving into 16. Bell from the drop zone. Money. Never a doubt. Bell ringing it up. Center chain. Act like you've been there before. No big deal. Almost 70 feet for Bell. Connor answers. Back-to-back hits from the drop zone. And just look at the difference in response as you see Connor running it in with a big smile after he follows up Bell. And meanwhile, Jake's like, that's great and all. I'll just make this short one for the birdie. Wow, who would have saw that coming? Off the tee, you see 3 guys go out of bounds. 1 guy puts it on, gets the birdie. 2 guys connect. Big thanks to our friends at Visionary. Jakes gets all the way through. Obviously, you've got the water carry here to start. I feel like that's the easier task on this hole unless you hit that tree. Oh, no, that kicks out of bounds. Red flag for Bell. Connor giving it plenty of juice, although it came out of his hand low. He's going to still stay in bounds, but not in a good position. Yes, please. I don't know how you get much better than that. We'll see just how many scattered trees he has to deal with in terms of the approach, but to think that that had the turnover out of his hand and then it carried the entire way, never hitting a tree. This should be an up and down, easy birdie, I would think. Meanwhile, Bell throwing his third bogey. Definitely in play now. Does Jake have a line? Okay, late tree is going to still give him a look. I'm stumped. I don't know what I'd be doing here. That was pretty. And almost gets the redirect off the tree and into the basket. He'd love to catch a little bit of the basket there at the end. Awkward stance, but I think you'd take it all day long in terms of how far he got and just not enough power on the shot. So he'll still have to work for that birdie. Bell, oh, good backstop there, saving him an extra 20 or 30 feet, so he has that left for his bogey. File that under missed opportunities. Bang, bang. Jake back with another birdie. $17 plays as the fourth easiest hole on the course. Oh, strike that. Fourth most difficult. That makes more sense. Yeah, averaging .37 over par. It's the fourth most difficult. We close on 18, which is the fifth most difficult. So not exactly easy to finish up out on this track as Bell is in for the bogey. Another time I'll say it. Thank you to all my Patreon supporters. Jake flirting. No, comes up short. You can't make that mistake here. You got to get over. It sound maybe like it's all too obvious, but just put the first one in play. Get it in bounds. Yes, there's ideal landing zones up there, but you got to get it in bounds and see what you can work with from there. Oh, and Matt's going to like that. Off in the distance there, that's hole number 16. And Connor just playing for the pitch. Nice conservative shot, setting himself up, hoping to get up and down and close out with a par. Anthony's going to put a lot more on it. And it's going to pay off with deep out of bounds, but he'll take it from there, and he has the look to save the par from just beyond the basket. So I can really appreciate the aggressive play. Obviously, if it comes in bounds, he's got a birdie look, but the fact that that's not too far to try and save par, and you're not going out of bounds early, that's the tactic that I really like, is you're not going out of bounds way back here because you didn't come in at any point. Jake from the drop zone, and he'll have a chance to save par. Like, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube things. You guys know, beg you every single round. Also, like I said, little comment action never hurts. It always makes you eligible to win some kind of giveaway that I have, whether it's a disc or a shirt. Maybe Infinite? Maybe I could put them on the spot. Maybe they could be sponsors of this tournament's giveaways. I hear they've got a few products. Solid work as Bell will close out with a birdie. Jake with the bogey. Anthony. And the par by Connor. So that is it, guys. That's round number 1 here at the 2024 Infinite Disc Beehive Classic. Nicholas Gill shoots the hot round clear of everyone by 2 or more. We'll see him, Jason, Connor, and Dallas all for round number 2. Big thanks to John and SpiiciiBoii. We'll see you guys in round 2.